We're kicking off the final week of Drive for History right here at Wheels Through Time, and today we're focusing on what's often referred to as the world's rarest motorcycle, the one-of-a-kind 1916 Traub. Now, throughout the summer, we've had the opportunity to share the history and even run many of the most significant and historic motorcycles right here at Wheels Through Time. Original paint four-cylinders, factory hill climbers, prototype board track racers, original paint Harley-Davidson's national champion Class C racing winners. Today, tops them all, the 1916 Traub motorcycle. Now, the story of this bike is actually a bit of a mystery, and I suppose the story starts in 1967. This motorcycle was actually uncovered behind a wall in a Chicago residential building. Nobody knows who built it. Nobody knows exactly when or where it was built. Now, keep in mind, there never was a Traub motorcycle company. 1900s and early 19-teens, as many as 150, 200 early American motorcycle factories were really fighting to make their mark on what was at the time a brand new American motorcycle industry. By the 1920s, all but just a handful of those brands had disappeared. Poor management, poor distribution, producing an inferior product, any number of reasons. One thing's for sure when studying the Traub is that this motorcycle is leaps and bounds ahead of anything else that was produced the same day. It's a 76 cubic inch side valve twin cam engine. That's right, it's a twin cam. 1999, Harley began producing twin cams for the road. They made them through maybe 2015 or 16. 1920s and early 30s, they actually had a twin cam racing machine that catapulted them right to the front of an industry. Traub in the 19-teens developed a twin cam arrangement to be able to mirror the approach for the lifters to the front cylinder and the rear cylinder, caused considerably less wear on components and made a more reliable engine. Chain-driven front mount magneto like nothing else we've ever seen. Cylinders cast. Apparently, these are the only cylinders cast like this, period. Never seen another set like them on another motorcycle or on a swap meet table, period. Three-speed transmission, the three-speed transmission. Now, you guys have probably heard me say it before. There's any number of reasons why companies went out of business. The term modern motorcycle was redefined several times throughout history as a new advancement would be made. If you didn't adapt, you usually went out of business. In the teens, the transmission was one of those innovations, really changed the way that motorcycles and automobiles worked all together. Traub apparently developed his own three-speed transmission, unlike anything we've ever seen before. So not only did the engine produce considerably more power and more torque than just about anything else of the same day, he was actually able to transmit that power to the rear wheel far more efficiently than just about any of his counterparts. So really, really amazing stuff. The Keystone frame, it actually allows the engine to be set lower in the frame. Now, Keystone frame, now traditionally there's a loop tube on Harley-Davidsons that go underneath the engine. The way this is set up is the down tube behind the front wheel, comes down and ends right in front of the engine. And the engine is actually cradled in this frame, allows the engine to be considerably lower center of gravity, produces for a better ride, lower seat position. So really incredible stuff. The chassis on this machine is absolutely functional and proportional, just about like unlike any other motorcycle we've seen. One-of-a-kind front end that really resembles kind of a combination between an Indian leaf spring, an Excelsior leaf spring, and even a Sears leaf spring front end. Really stable, sporty style handlebars, and again, a low seat position. Now, traditionally, at this day and age, motorcycles were kind of point A to point B transportation. This motorcycle, it's almost like it was made with sport in mind. The way that you ride this bike is a lot more like riding a motorcycle from the 20s or even the 1930s. Now, 76 cubic inch side valve twin cam. There's only been one other company make a machine of that configuration. It was Indian in the 1950s, if you can believe that, 30 to 20 something years later. So the Traub remains very much a mystery, although we have found several pieces of information through census record research and quite a bit of research in early motorcycle publications that may help us piece this puzzle together. We actually found a fellow by the name Richard Traub, spelled exactly the same, that lived on the very same street that this motorcycle was found all the way into the 1950s. Now, on Traub's census record, he lists himself as self-employed and an experimental machinist. Very possibly could have had all the tools and know-how to be able to build a machine just like this. Interesting side note, Traub actually had a brother that worked at the Thor motorcycle company by the name of Frank Traub, so unsure of what the connection may be there, but something worth noting most definitely. Now, this motorcycle is run on very, very rare occasion. We're getting ready to fire this thing up. It's got quite an interesting starting procedure. Now, it's probably been upwards of a year since the motorcycle ran last, and before that, maybe even 5 or 6 years. So the Traub itself, while the story of its origins are kind of unknown, it's got quite a colorful history after it came out of the wall in the 1960s. When the bike was discovered, the family that owned the home retained the motorcycle for some years. Actually, a motorcycle collector and Yamaha dealer by the name of Torillo Tachi. Tachi and his father owned Midwest Motorcycle Imports. It was the largest import motorcycle shop in the country, I believe. Tachi heard about this motorcycle, chased it down and found it, ended up trading the folks a brand new Yamaha for this motorcycle. One of those decisions that might have been the best decision that Tachi ever made, and might have been the worst decision that the family that owned the motorcycle ever made. So Tachi owned the bike for some years, never ran the bike, and actually a fellow by the name of Bud Eakins. Bud Eakins, Steve McQueen's stuntman, did the jump in The Great Escape, did stunts for all sorts of Hollywood movies. Bud was on set in Chicago for the Blues Brothers movie, and actually heard about this bike and chased it down at Tachi's shop. He was able to make a deal for this motorcycle and one other bike at Tachi's shop, shipped it back to California, and it went right into Bud's shop, never to be run. Bud, we say Bud was a guy with a lot of vices. There came a time when Bud ran out of money, sold this motorcycle to a fella named Richard Morris, and Richard is the fella that owned it for several years and sold it to Dale. Richard, I believe, was the first person to start this motorcycle, possibly since Traub himself. Now, the machine since has actually been rebuilt. I've actually got some great photos right over here in our photo album of the Traub, of this machine being taken apart. There you can see the inside of the cam chest, twin cam setup, absolutely incredible precision work. It's just absolutely amazing. Traub cast into the engine cases, and the bike developed a rod knock, and my dad and a good pal of his ended up taking the machine apart. Our good friend Ken Curtis machined a new connecting rod bushing, and they had this motorcycle back together in relatively short order, and it's been running great ever since. So we're going to crank this bike up right now, and unlike any other motorcycle I've ever heard, it's got great power. Big 2-inch exhaust pipes make incredible noise coming out of the exhaust, and we're going to hope it just takes a couple kicks to fire this thing up. So we're going to turn the gas on. Totally cold start. So this bike hasn't been run in some time, and we're going to give her a go. So Schebler carburetor over on this side. We're going to tickle the carburetor a little bit, look for a drip out of the bottom there. It lets us know our float level's set just right. And this is the only motorcycle in the museum that you need the compression release to start the bike. So without holding the compression release, you absolutely cannot kick this bike over. So compression release lifts the exhaust valves over, lifts the exhaust valves up, and it's got actually kind of a ratchet type kick motion. You build up a little bit of speed in the flywheels, drop that compression release, and we're hoping it's going to fire right up. So put that choke on, and here we go, guys. All right. Fired right up. It's got a manual oiler, so we're going to turn the oil on. Sight glass down at the bottom. Just listen to that thing purr. It's got great rhythm, runs absolutely flawlessly, and just makes great power for a 19-teens era motorcycle. Bike will probably cruise 70, 75 mile an hour with relative ease. What a machine. World's rarest motorcycle right here at Wheels Through Time. Time to take it for a ride. What a machine. It just runs so perfect. One of a kind motorcycle, one of the highlights of my life riding this machine. And doesn't get much better than that right here on the Drive for History, the world's mystery motorcycle. One of the rarest machines anywhere, the 1916 Traub. You guys heard it run right here at Wheels Through Time. Just incredible, guys. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Drive for History. All this week, we're going to be firing up the most significant machines right here at Wheels Through Time. Excellent day to day, cranking the 1916 Traub, one-of-a-kind mystery motorcycle. If you guys are digging what you see, make sure you check out driveforhistory.com. Check out our annual raffle. Check out our lifetime membership program. Make a contribution today. And remember, you guys help keep us the museum that runs. Thanks a bunch.